and welcome back to Rosie Sews Modern Vintage. I'm Rosie and it's really lovely to have you here today. I am joined by a very special guest. This is Ruby, my daughter, and she is going to be modelling for me today while I show you how to make a half circle skirt. It's ever so easy, really simple, it only takes one side seam and I'm going to show you how to do it in a really short space of time. So let's get right into it. Right, the first thing we need to do is to measure Ruby's waist so that we have a basis for all of the maths that goes with designing a half circle skirt. So if you can stand up, Ruby, just come towards me a little bit. So I'm going to take my tape measure and just go round the natural waist. So really just where you normally like to wear your skirt. Ruby tends to wear hers a little bit higher, I tend to wear mine a little bit lower, so just, you know, it goes on really what your personal preference is. So I've taken Ruby's measurement, which is 33 inches, and I'm going to write that down so I don't forget it. And now comes the proper maths. Right, so as you can see, we have our waist measurement, which is 33 inches, and we also have the desired length of the skirt. Now, this calculation I've made using the fact that Ruby would like a 26-inch skirt, and then we need another extra inch allowing for seams and hems. So now, what we need to do is we need to find out our waist radius. Now, we need to do this by taking our waist measurement of 33 inches and dividing it by pi, which is 3.14. So Ruby's now going to do that for us, and it is 10.5. So I'll write that down. And now we need to work out our length radius. These two pieces of information are going to be what helps us to decide how much fabric we need. So we know that our waist radius is 10.5. So to find our length radius, we need to add the waist radius of 10.5 to the desired length of 27. So that is 10.5 plus 27, which equals 37.5 inches. So once we know that we need that our length radius is 37.5 inches, I've then converted that into centimetres, which is 94 centimetres. So this is the amount of fabric that we will be cutting 1/2 of the skirt on. So we need to double this. So our final fabric measurement needs to be, I'm going to round that up to 1 metre. So we need 2 metres times the width of the fabric. And so now you can go shopping for whatever fabric makes your heart happy. So Ruby has chosen this really beautiful lilac viscose with these pretty flowers on it for her skirt. This is fine for me because I've made a few of these skirts now, but if you were doing your first one, you might like to get something a little bit more sturdy, maybe like a cotton poplin or something like that, or maybe you've probably seen my other one that I mentioned on YouTube, which was made of like a polyester. It was a tartan, so it's a slightly thicker, more stable fabric. So yeah, just see how, you know, how confident you feel. But to make sure that this doesn't slip, I've pinned it all the way up, pinned the edges together so that they don't slip and I end up with an uneven circle or uneven hem. So I've pinned it, and then I'm also using some pattern weights to keep it in place as well. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to take our first measurement for our waist, which was 10.5 inches. I've converted that into centimetres, which is 27 centimetres. And we need to measure from the corner edge here down 27 centimetres, and the same across here. So we do mark the corners like that, which I have already done, but I'll just show you. So I want 27 centimetres there. And then I'm going to do the same here. Which is to here. And then we need to measure down 27 centimetres from the corner in several places so that we can then join them up and make like a quarter circle. So I'll just do that now. And then we're going to join that measurement, those marks up. There we go. So now we've done our waist markings, we now need to do our length. So you can either work out what your length on its own was. For us, we wanted 27 inch long or 68.58 centimetres, and then you can measure from here all the way down. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go for the length radius, which was just over 94 centimetres, and I'm going to measure that from here down. So we measure 94 centimetres down and along all the way. So I'm going to grab my tape measure and do that now. Now I'm going to cut this line to make my waist, and my hemline at the edge that you can't see at the moment, I'm going to cut that now. So we will then start to see a skirt shape emerging. So first of all, let's cut the waist. We want to be really careful to make sure we get this as neat as possible, because obviously if we make it say 27 centimetres there but only 25 centimetres there, it will end up with the skirt having an uneven hem. It will sort of go up and down, so that's really important. So okay, so we've cut our waist now off, and I'm now going to do the same for the hem, and I'll be back in a sec. What I've done now is, see, I've set up my machine and I have cut a waistband which is the same length as the waist measurement, and I've just done it 12 centimetres deep, but you can make it, you know, you can decide whether you want a thin waistband or a wide waistband, and obviously you want to double it so that it could be folded over at the end. So I've cut that rectangle and I've pinned it to the waistband of the skirt, and now I'm just going to sew using a straight stitch from one end to the other. Now what I would say is, with the waistband of the skirt, if you feel like you might be inclined to pull too hard on it, or you think that you might need to do some unpicking later on and you don't want to risk stretching that bit of fabric, because it would be very easy to do that, you could just run a line of stay stitching around the top of the top of the waistband, sorry, the top of the waist where the waistband will be sewn on. You could first of all run a line of just regular long straight stitches all the way along that edge of the fabric, and then that would just keep it stable and won't let it stretch when you're doing other adjustments. You don't have to do it, but it is a safety net if you do think that you might need to do some unpicking and things later on. I've not bothered because I'm trying to do this quickly for you, so I'm just going to sew this waistband onto the skirt, and then I will show you what I get up to next. So I have fitted my zip, as you can see here, and so now I need to sew the remaining seam. Now again, if you are doing this from stretch fabric, ignore the bit I've just said about the zip and imagine that the bit I'm sewing now is from the waistband all the way to the hem. So now I'm going to pin together the two sides of the skirt, and I'm going to sew all the way down to the bottom. So now I've sewn my inside seam and I've ironed that out flat. Okay, so we have seam running down the middle and the two edges of the skirt are ironed open. So when we turn it in the right way, we now have a complete skirt. Okay, now The last thing that we need to do before hemming is we need to fold over our waistband. So I'll just show you on the inside. So we've got the edge of the zip there, and we need to fold down our waistband to cover over the edge of the zip, and then we want to also turn it up so that when we sew it down, let me just straighten this all up for you. So that's covering the inside of the zip, as you can see, and holding down this flapping bit there. Okay, and then with the waistband, we want to fold that under so that that covers this seam here where we join the waistband to the skirt. Okay, so we're going to fold that over, and then that's going to cover it over. So I shall just sew that, and then I'll show you how I've got on. And we are done. So I have finished my waistband, which you can see on the inside. I have sewn one hem at the top, one seam at the top, just to kind of hold the fabric in place, and then there is a second seam there, and I have pressed it all so that it hangs nice and straight. Now the final thing to do, we've done everything now except the hem. Now it is quite tricky doing a half circle hem or anything bigger, so even a three-quarter circle or a full circle, they're even more difficult. This I think is probably the trickiest part of doing the skirt, and so the best way I've found to make sure that you get an even hem is to actually attach bias binding. So you sew bias binding all the way around the hem, and then you fold it onto the inside and you sew again, and that is your hem. Now I prefer to do that because I always worry that I'm turning up too much on one side of the skirt and then not enough on the other side. The alternative that you could do is overlock all of the hem, and then just turn over the overlocking and hem that. Also, if you have a rolled hem foot, as long as you're using a very fine fabric, you could do that as well. Now I actually want to let this skirt hang for a little while, just to make sure that I have got a straight hem, and if I need to make any adjustments, I'll be able to see that within the next few hours as it evens itself out and hangs out properly. So the next shot you will see is of the finished skirt with its hem.